For 8 months, a killer moved through the sleeping streets of New Orleans. He left almost nothing behind. No name, no motive, no face, just an open back door and a city too afraid to close its eyes. He came in the dark, he left before dawn, and the only clue he ever gave the police was the tool he used to get inside, a chisel and an axe he borrowed from the victims' own homes. This is the case of the Axeman of New Orleans, a killer who was never caught, never identified, and who once promised he would only spare the houses filled with music. The year was 1918. New Orleans was a city of gas lamps and jazz, of tight immigrant neighborhoods where everyone knew their neighbors and left their doors unlocked. Many of those neighbors were Italian immigrants. Grocers, mostly, who lived in the back rooms of the little corner stores they ran. It was in those back rooms that the terror began. One night, an intruder crept into a grocer's home while the family slept. He got in by chiseling out a panel of the back door. He found an axe on the property, and by morning a household had been attacked in their beds. The police were baffled from the very first scene. Nothing was stolen. Money and valuables sat untouched. This wasn't a robbery, it was something colder. Then it happened again, and again. Another grocer, another chiseled door, another borrowed axe left behind at the scene. A pattern was forming, and it was a strange one. The killer never brought his own weapon. He used whatever the victims had, and he always came for the people asleep in the back of a little store. Word spread through the city like a fever. People began sleeping in shifts. Fathers sat up all night with shotguns across their laps. Every creak of a house became the sound of a chisel at the door. New Orleans stopped sleeping. And the police had nothing, no fingerprints that meant anything in 1918. No witnesses who could describe a face. A killer who arrived and left like smoke. The panic deepened when suspicion turned toward the victims themselves. Were the Italian grocers being targeted for who they were? Was this a vendetta, a feud? No theory ever held. Then, in the middle of the terror, the Axeman did something almost unheard of for a killer of his kind. He wrote a letter. It was published in the newspapers, and the city read it with shaking hands. In it, the writer claimed to be the Axeman, and he claimed to be something not quite human. He wrote that he was a spirit, a demon from the hottest reaches of the beyond, and that the police would never catch him because they were only chasing a man. And then came the part the whole city would remember. He announced that on a specific night he would pass over New Orleans again. But, he wrote, he would spare every home where a jazz band was playing. Any house filled with music would be safe. Any house that was silent, he made no promises. It reads like a taunt, a sick joke, but New Orleans could not afford to call the bluff. So on that night, the entire city played jazz. Every dance hall was packed. Every parlor phonograph was spinning. Families who owned no instruments invited neighbors who did. Down every street, from every window, music poured into the dark. A whole city playing for its life, all at once. And that night, no one was attacked. Whether the killer honored his letter or was never coming at all, we will never know. The attacks continued sporadically after that. A few more chiseled doors, a few more borrowed axes, and a city that flinched at every shadow. The police chased every lead. They questioned rivals, feuding families, drifters, anyone with a grudge. Men were arrested. None of it stuck. Detectives built theories that connected the storefronts across a map of the city. A killer working a pattern only he understood, but the pattern never pointed anywhere. And then, almost as suddenly as it began, it stopped. The attacks ended. The chisel and the borrowed axe were never used again. The Axeman simply stopped. He was never arrested, never named, never explained. He walked out of the story and into the fog. Over the years, theories have piled up. Some believe it was a settling of scores within the city's criminal underworld, dressed up as something stranger. Others point to a single suspect, a man some believe was tracked down and dealt with privately, far from New Orleans, long after the killings ended. But there was never any proof. And some believe there was more than one hand at work, that the Axeman was the Trusgretel Sysnefars for your visium plitled perfect precise, that the Axeman was a name the city gave to a fear too big to belong to one person. What we know for certain is unbearably thin, a chisel, a borrowed axe, silent back rooms, and a letter that made an entire city dance in terror. The Axeman understood something about fear that most killers never do. He didn't just take lives. He reached into every home in the city and made them afraid of their own silence. For one night, New Orleans answered that fear the only way it knew how, with brass and rhythm and music loud enough to hold back the dark. The music faded. The city eventually slept again, but the man who made them play was never found. Somewhere in the history of New Orleans, there is a back door with a missing panel and a shadow that was never given a name. And on quiet nights, you can still almost hear the whole city playing, just in case. If the Axeman kept you up, do me a favor and keep the lights on for Backcountry Files. Like this video and subscribe so the next cold case reaches you. Drop your theory below. Underworld hit, a lone madman, or something the city never wanted to name. Because some cases don't close, they just go cold.